Hello there and welcome back to my channel, or if this is the first video of mine you are seeing, then welcome. In this video I will be trying out Blend Bunny Cosmetics for the very first time, and I picked up their beautiful Machina palette. I mean, this artwork is so gorgeous. We have these really beautiful shades in here. I don't know, something really drew me into this palette. I don't know what exactly it was. I mean, all of Blend Bunny's palettes look amazing. They just look so beautiful, but I never actually jumped until I saw this palette and I just knew I had to have it. So I will be including some live swatches of this palette as well as swatches outside and 5 different eye looks. I want to make sure I'm using every single shade in the palette. So if all of that sounds interesting, let's go ahead and get started. This palette is just so stunning. That artwork is gorgeous. I think the artwork just pulled me in immediately to this palette. And then of course we have the inside. So stunning. I can't wait to swatch this and to put this all over my eyes. I'm just so excited. So let's go ahead and get started on these swatches here. I have never tried Blend Bunny before, but I have heard absolutely nothing but good things about the brand. I'm going to do the small swatches again because I've got to really fit this palette in on my arm because there are 24 shades. I'll wipe a little bit of that in a second. Ooh, these are pretty. I'm going to build up that second shade just a little bit so I can just see more of the pigment. I don't think I picked up enough. That's pretty. Okay, we got the next round. I ended up getting some of that yellow shade on my arm. Really pretty. Alright, got the next 3. Well, my camera will focus on my arm for me. Here we got the next 3 shades on the second row. Ooh, it's pretty. Alright, now we're starting on this third row. We'll go back up here. Ooh. That's a really pigmented shade. Next 3. Alright, then we're starting the last row here. Ooh. And the last 3 shades, and I'm about to dye to swatch that last shade, Cyborg, this one right here, because it looks really shifty. Ooh. Oh, it mixed in a little bit with that red shade. But you can still see the color. See if I can pick up a little bit more of that one and put that back over the top a little bit, since it did mix in a little with the red, but you can still see the shade. And here are the shades all swatched out. Really beautiful. Can't wait to see how they perform on the eyes. And then I'm going to insert a clip right here so you can see these shades on the outside in some natural lighting, so you're not just seeing me film with a ring light. I had a random number generator pick out my shades. So for look number 1, these are the first shades it picked out for me. Also, that shade, it looks, maybe these 2 shades look a little patchy. No, it's not the shade's fault. My hand is so dry. It's been getting a little colder here where I am, so my hands are really dry. So please ignore that. They're not patchy like that. It's just where my hand is just dry. So we have the shade Conscious, Emote, Machine, Flawed, and Precision. I'm going to start with the shade Flawed on a pointed eye pencil brush from e.l.f. And I'm going to start running that in my crease. I actually might press it in first. I'm using this smaller brush so I can really get it into that crease. Yeah, I'm really going to pack that shade down. And then start to work around that a little bit. That is a pretty shade. It's a pretty color. Using that same brush, I'm going to go in with the shade Precision. I'm going to take that and start working around the edges of this shade, this blue shade. I'm going to take the shade Emote on an eyeshadow C brush from e.l.f. I only dipped into that shade once because I knew it'd be pigmented, and I'm just going to stamp that on this outer half of my lid. I'm just pressing that first so I can get most of the pigment off of that brush before I go in and blend around the edges. Then I'm going to go back in with that smaller brush I was working with and just start blending around those edges. On a concealer brush for e.l.f., I'm going in with the shade Conscious, and I will be spraying my brush with some setting spray. And that shade I'm going to place right here on this beginning portion of my lid. That's pretty. That's really pretty. So I'm just going to do some mascara and a lash, and I'll be right back to do the lower lash line. The lashes I'm wearing are from Ioni. These are the 3D foaming lashes from their Bridal Suite collection, Bride's Love, Fluffy Natural Flare. I don't believe you can get this collection anymore, but the Fluffy Natural Flare, I believe you can in just their regular line. I'm going to take the shade Machine on a small angled brush from e.l.f. And then this shade I'm going to run along my lower lash line. I'm going to press most of the pigment on this outer part of my lower lash line, and then I'm going to wipe off my brush and then drag the rest across the rest of my lower lash line. Then drag it. That way most of the pigment is on the outer half. I had went ahead and done my other eye the same way instead of doing 2 different looks. I have quite a few things to do today, and it's not where I can be wearing 2 different eye looks, so tomorrow and the next day I'll be doing 2 different eye looks at the same time. And then on that same brush I just took a little bit of the shade Switch and popped that on the inner corner. This isn't one of the shades that it picked out for me, but I just wanted to add in a little inner corner highlight. And here is the first look all done. Okay, here are the shades that it picked out for me for look number 2. So we have Enamored, Glitch. Now this one, I don't know if it would be Conduct or Conduct. I guess either would technically be right. Sci-fi and AI. I'm going to start with the shade AI. I'm going to take that on a brush like this. This was from the Electric Mood collection from e.l.f. It's just kind of like this really dense crease brush. Okay, and then we're just going to stamp that into my crease. I find with these shades that really stamping them in helps first before you go in and blend. Especially these really more softer shades. I'm just taking my face powder and just going around these edges. Just to make sure I blend out any harsh lines. Next I'm going to go in with the shade Glitch on an eyeshadow C brush from e.l.f. And that shade I'm going to start pressing right out here. I only dipped into that shade one time because I knew it would be really pigmented. Not to mention I want to keep it a little soft since the first blue shade that I worked with is more on the pastel side once it's blended out. So I want to keep this shade soft too. Okay, I'm going to go in with the shade Conduct, whichever way you pronounce that, and I will be spraying my brush with some setting spray. I'm going to place that right here on the very center of my lid. And go back over that with a little bit more. That's a pretty shade. Just kind of tap over the edges a little bit, just to make sure it blends in a little bit more with that purple. Same brush, I'm going in with the shade Sci-Fi, and then that shade is going right in here on this innermost part of my lid. I did spray my brush again with some setting spray. You can see that pretty green shift. It's pretty. Okay, I'm just going to do some mascara and a lash, and I'll be right back to do the lower lash line. Since this eye turned out so cute, soft, and pastel-y, I just wanted to keep it just mascara, so I'm using the Too Faced Better Than Sex Mascara Primer, the Foreplay Mascara Primer, and then for mascara I'm wearing the Give Beauty Can't Stop Staring Mascara. Well, if it would focus. There we go. I'm going to take the shade Enamored on a small angled brush from e.l.f. And that shade I'm going to run along my lower lash line all the way across. I didn't pick up too much. I wanted to keep it soft just like the shades on my lid. I love how with this look, these are some really pigmented mattes that I'm working with, but I love how I'd make them as soft as I possibly can. That's just my favorite way to wear colorful eyeshadow. Unless I'm doing a look for Instagram, I go a little more bold, but for the most part, I just love a really pretty pastel look. And here is look number 2, all done. Okay, here are the next colors that I'm using. We have Cyborg, Circuit, Digital, Diode, and Switch. And this shade, pretty. Okay, I'm going to start with the shade Diode. And we're going to do this the same way I did on the other side. I'm just going to pack that shade all into my crease. Just build it up. I'm using the same brushes that I used on the other eye because I have like a little brush cleaning little silicone mat right here that I'm using. So I'm just going to be using the same brushes. Also, it's a unicorn one. It come from the Dollar Tree. I'm in love with it. And I don't know if this is true for every Dollar Tree, but when I got this, it rang up as 1 cent. So there's different ones. There's the unicorn, some fruit, I think like a pineapple, a watermelon, and then I think a diamond or something. Or diamond shaped. I picked up all of them because they have really come in handy for my brushes, and they're only 1 cent. Or these were. I don't know if that's true for every Dollar Tree. Okay, now that I have that shade packed down, I'm just going to take my face powder on that same brush and just going to start working around the edges of that shade. Then I'm going to go in with the shade Digital on an eyeshadow C brush from e.l.f. And that shade I'm going to pack on this outer corner. I just picked up a very small amount, just like I did with the other side. I love green and yellow together in eyeshadow. I just think that makes such a pretty combo. And then going back in with that first brush, I'm just going to very lightly blend around these edges. To make sure there's no harsh lines. But I don't want to take away too much of that yellow shade. I might have to go back in with just a little bit of that shade Diode and just kind of press it right in here. I don't want to lose that yellow shade. That's one reason why I'm not blending too much. I want to make sure you can see that shade. Okay, then I'm going to go in with the shade Cyborg, and I will be spraying my brush with some setting spray. In that shade, I'm going to press right here in this very center. I know this shade would probably be even more impactful, like if you used your finger. But with these nails, it's a little harder to keep the shade where I want it, so I'm just going to be using a brush. That is one pretty shade. I had originally planned to put it on the lower lash line because I have that darker like blue navy shade, but I really wanted to put it on the lid so I can see more of that shift. That's one reason why I didn't want to put it on the lower lash line. I know I would have still been able to see it, but not as much. It would have been a smaller space, so I just wanted to see it. Just like that. I know that this shade would have been better with this yellow and green, but I just wanted to see that shift. Same brush, I'm going in with the shade Switch. And that shade is going to go right in here, right on this inner corner. See, now next time I would take that Switch shade and put it all over the lid, and then I could have taken that Cyborg shade like on the inner, and then taken the Circuit shade on this outer portion of the lower lash line, but I had to see it. I had to see it just like that. So I'm just going to do some mascara on this side, and I'll be right back to do the lower lash line. I'm going to take the shade Circuit on a small angled brush from e.l.f. And that shade I'm going to drag all across my lower lash line. And there is look number 3, all done. Okay, here is the color scheme it picked for me today. And this shade right here is absolutely gorgeous. I definitely plan on putting that all over the lid. But we have Mortality, Robotic, Shutdown, Attract, and Motherboard. I'm going to start with the shade Attract on an eye crease brush from e.l.f. And I'm going to start stamping that into my crease. This is another one of those more softer shades, so I find that really packing it in helps get that pigment to show up really stronger. Or just to show up stronger. That is a really beautiful shade. I would love to just take that shade all in the crease, all over the lid, and then put that Mortality shade over the top. That would just be such a beautiful, stunning look. And on that same brush, I just took a little bit of my face powder, and I'm just going around the edge of that pink shade just to make sure it starts to blend out. I'm not going to blend too much because I really want that pink to show up. And it's such a soft shade. I'm going to take the shade Robotic on a blending brush from e.l.f. And I'm going to stamp that on this outer part of my lid. Of course, you can take an even more densely packed brush and really pack this shade on. You can make this a lot deeper than what I'm doing, but this is just my favorite way to wear a color. I prefer to keep it softer because that's just what I like. And these shades are so easy to work with that I love that you can do that you can build them up to have that pigment, but you can also blend them out so easily so they can be a lot softer. I have not struggled one bit with this palette. Which is definitely a nice thing to experience after that last palette. If you watch my video that I posted this past Friday, then you will definitely know what I mean. Then I'm going to take the shade Mortality on a concealer brush from e.l.f. and I will be spraying my brush with some setting spray. Okay, and then I'm going to place that on this beginning portion of my lid. Oh my goodness, that is so beautiful. Oh, I love that shade. You know, I think I just found my most favorite shade in the whole palette. That is so stunning. I'm going to take the shade Shutdown on an e.l.f. and J Kissa, a J6 brush. And that brush just looks like this. It's just like a little flat liner brush. I'm just going to do the teeniest little baby wing. And I did not pick up much of this shade, so I'll probably have to go back in. And I only take it about right to that part right there, about halfway across my lid. I don't really ever bring it all the way this way. And I had to fix that wing on this outer part because it's a little, at the end it's a little chunky, but I'll fix that with some concealer. Yeah, I'll definitely clean up that. I'm not really the best at wings. I don't do them a lot. I'm not that good at them. So I will be cleaning that up with a concealer, but I'm just going to, well, I'll do that and I'm going to put on some mascara and a lash and I'll be right back to do the lower lash line. Okay, the lash that I'm wearing is from Ioni. These are their 3D faux mink lashes from their Book of Familiars collection, the Wispy Long Flare. I'm going to take the shade Motherboard on that same J6 brush. I just picked up a small amount and I'm just going to run that along my lower lash line all the way across. That's a really pretty shade. I love how it's actually like a navy shade and it actually shows up like a navy. I figured some shades like that are more of like a really navy shade, they end up looking black on the eye. This actually does have that pretty blue tint to it. That's really stunning. I'm just taking a little bit of that Switch shade, which is like that icy kind of sparkly shade, and I'm going to put that right here in the inner corner. I just want a little pop of something right there. This is the shade Switch. And here is look number 4, all done. Okay, here are the last 4 shades that I haven't used in the palette yet. And I love how it saved all the red shades for last. So we have Error Code, Burn, Oxytocin, and Human. I'm going to start out with the shade Burn on that eye crease brush from e.l.f. And I'm going to start pressing that into my crease. Of course, with that shade, you probably really don't have to stamp it in. It probably has enough pigment all on its own, and I already know this is probably going to stain. Of course, I don't mind that, but I can just look at that shade and just tell. And then on that same brush, I'm going back in with my face powder, and I'm just going to start running that around the edges of this red shade. It might take a little bit more. I might have to actually go in with a more fluffier brush to blend this shade out because it is really pigmented. Okay, I didn't blend it out like completely. I kind of want to keep that shape for right this second, so this is as much as I'm going to blend right now. And I'm going to take the shade Human on a blending brush from e.l.f. and we're going to press that on this outer corner. I didn't picture doing an all red eye look, but here's one. But these shades are really beautiful. And I think that's another thing I like about the way this palette's laid out, is how it goes in like a really pretty gradient, like all the way down to the deeper shade. So you can always do that if you wanted to with this palette, but I just kind of wanted to do a little random generator just so I can kind of be a little more creative with color combos. On that same brush, I'm going in with the shade Error Code, and that shade's going to be packed right in here on this beginning portion. Well, if you are really into red, this is a look for you. It didn't pick out any shimmer shade for me, so this is going to be an all matte look with this palette. Now that I have all the shades laid down, I'm going in with a fluffy brush with some of my face powder, and then I'm just going to work around these edges. Then I'm going to take the shade Shutdown on that J6 brush. I just wanted to add this shade in because I did do a teeny little wing on the other side. I'm not worried about it being perfect because I can always clean that up with some concealer, because I'm not good at wings. I'm not good at them. I always need help cleaning them up. So I'm just going to do some mascara and then do this lash on this side, and I'll be right back to do the lower lash line. I'm going to take the shade Oxytocin on that J6 brush, and I'm going to run that all along my lower lash line. And then I am taking that switch shade again, putting that on the inner corner. And here is look number 5, all done. And there you have all 5 looks with this palette. I have now used all 24 shades in this palette, and it is a beautiful, stunning palette. I had always heard good things about Blend Bunny Cosmetics, but I had never tried them before, and this is a beautiful, beautiful palette. I would definitely recommend this to anybody who is looking at it, who is thinking about purchasing it. It's stunning. I think it creates the most beautiful eye looks. They're really easy to work with. They're pigmented enough where you can really build up the color, but they're also easy to blend, so you can really lighten some shades up if you need to. I think that out of all 5 looks I've done, this look is my favorite. Like, that is so pretty with that pink and that gray and then that midnight blue. That is just such a pretty look to me. I love those colors together. This side turned out really pretty too. It turned out a little bit more on the pinky red than it did actually straight up red. I don't know, I guess it's just the mixture of the colors, because when you swatch that shade right there, which is the shade Burn, it's definitely a true red, but once you put it on the eye and then blended in with more of these pinky shades, it just looks like a really beautiful pink rosy look, which I really do love that. But this palette is so beautiful. It's gorgeous. Definitely, if you were looking at it, it's well worth it. It's so beautiful. But I do hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, I hope you will please consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing if you haven't already. And please make sure to follow me over on Instagram at Jessica Dearly, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!